November 2005. Been working at Norlake Manufacturing for about a month now. I think it might have been around this time that Frame Art Galleries called me and asked me to come back to work for them as manager of their Woodmere store. But I had a 10-minute drive from where I was living to Norlake, and it would be like almost an hour drive, depending on traffic, to the Woodmere store. I was already making the same amount of money and everything. Gas prices were going up. So as much as I loved picture framing, I stuck with Norlake Manufacturing. Aside from all that, I read some books. Not a lot. Only 5 books in November of 2005. And I'm going to tell you what they are right now, what they were. The first book I read in November 2005. Excuse me, I have the very light pen I was using to write, so I have to really concentrate to try to read this. The first book I read in November of 2005 is Family Guy, the official episode guide, seasons 1 through 3, compiled and edited by Steve Callaghan. It is what it says in the title. An episode guide for Family Guy, so plot synopses, special guest stars, trivia, all that stuff. All the stuff you find in an episode guide of any show, pretty much. I loved early Family Guy. Haven't watched it in ages. Still a fan of the show, generally speaking. Still love the old stuff. So, Family Guy, the official episode guide, seasons 1 through 3, compiled and edited by Steve Callaghan. The next book that I read was Eternity Row by S.L. Vale. Is still how I'm saying this name. It's a Star Doc novel. Our main character, Dr. Chiriho Torin. And in this book, she and her husband are now on the Star Cruiser Sunlace. So they've gotten away from all of their problems for the most part. In all the stuff that's going on in the previous books, they've been slaves and all sorts of stuff. So Dr. Torin is working, of course, healing humans and aliens on this ship. But she's searching for her mother, who apparently planted subliminal messages in her brain. So she's looking for her mother, and, there's going to be some sort of conflict, a greater conflict, of course. But just a nice mix of science fiction and medical drama. Eternity Row by S.L. Vale. V-I-E-H-L. Don't know how you pronounce that. The third book that I read in November of 2005 is New Rules by Bill Maher. I used to be a Bill Maher fan, and I used to watch Real Time with Bill Maher on HBO. And one of the segments that he had on that show was called New Rules, or he would just talk about new rules. Kind of makes sense, given the title. And this book is just basically that segment written down. So he took this kind of a monologue on whatever the subject of the new rule was, and he put it down here. So pretty funny stuff, insightful maybe. It'd be interesting to me, since he's become a bit of an ass. Some people might say he was an ass before. Seems up his own ass nowadays. It would be interesting to me to see what his new rules today would be versus 20 years ago. But anyway, New Rules by Bill Maher. The penultimate book in November 2005. See how quickly we've gotten there. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Spark and Burn by Diana G. Gallagher. And this is the story of Spike. And it's from Spike's POV. So there's a lot of flashbacks, back to the present day, flashbacks. We get Spike's origin, Spike's siren Drusilla, Spike's time ravaging Europe with Drusilla. Um, all sorts of that kind of stuff. It's a lot of stuff. A huge part of this book rehashed from things that were in the show, almost novelized. But the really fun stuff is it. We get to see that essentially Spike was around for certain things happening on the show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So we're seeing that we never knew he was around for if you just watched the show. So we're seeing these scenes from Spike's perspective and with Spike's sort of inner monologue as these scenes are going on. So that's fun. And Spike, one of the best characters on the show, despite one controversial scene. But it's Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Spark and Burn by Diana G. Gallagher, all about Spike. And the final book that I read in November of 2005 was Reign of the Dead by Len Barnhart, and that's Reign, Reign of the Dead. It's a zombie book, and we have kind of 6 main characters, but the mainish character is a guy that had gotten away from civilization, off on his own in the wilderness, reconnecting with nature, and when he comes back, he finds out there's been a zombie apocalypse. So he joins a group of survivors, about 100 people that are in this rescue center, and they're dealing with zombie apocalypse stuff. Meanwhile, not too far away is this reverend who's got a big old house, I guess, with a bunch of troubled youths, and he thinks he understands God's plan and where the zombie apocalypse fits into all of that, and he's using his position as a leader of these youths to carry out what he believes is God's plan. And then you've got the not too far away military base, and the government, the military think they know what's best in a zombie apocalypse. So you have these 3 different groups that are all eventually going to clash. As I said, there's 6 main characters. The guy that came in from the cold, the reverend, some military guy. I don't know exactly who the other 3 are. Don't remember. Excuse me. But zombie novel. And I had to look it up. Didn't remember exactly what it was. And Amazon has that little note at the top sometimes. And so this one said, you bought this paperback in April of 2005. I no longer have it, which may speak to how much I liked it. I don't know. I didn't remember anything at all about it, so that might say something about how much I liked it. But that's Reign of the Dead by Len Barnhart. Apparently there's a whole bunch. I may even have some more in here. We'll see. But there seems to be a series of these. And that's it. That's everything I read in November of 2005. Working my new job. Reading a few books. Don't know what else was going on at the time. Excuse me. I don't have anything to drink. I could use something for my throat. I got a little tickle in there. Question for the video. What's your favorite zombie novel? As usual, I can't remember if I've asked this before. Seems like a question I would have asked in the past. But let's talk about it again. Let's just talk zombie fiction. My favorite zombie novel, Easy, The Rising by Brian Keene. It's right over there. Up there. I don't know that I've read a ton of zombie novels. Stephen North had a couple zombie novels, Dead Tide, and the sequel that I've read. and obviously Reign of the Dead. The Dead by Marky Rogers, which would probably be my least favorite zombie novel. I'm sure there's a few more, but yeah, easily The Rising by Brian Keene. Sea of the Dead I like a lot because there's zombie animals, um, but definitely The Rising. There's some great short story collections. The books, Book of the Dead and Book of the Dead 2, edited by John Skipp and Craig Spector. Fantastic zombie anthologies, but yeah, I want you folks to throw zombie stuff my way because I can't think of much more than what I've already mentioned. So, what's your favorite? What would you recommend? Um, Feel free to throw in anything else. I mean, The Walking Dead, as much of it as I read, I thought was a fantastic comic book. I read up to issue 50, issue 75. I don't remember the issue number, but I didn't finish the series, comic or TV show. Throw out some zombie movies, lesser known zombie movies. Anybody can talk about Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Return of the Living Dead. 28 Days Later, I don't consider it a zombie movie, but seems like most people do. Let's talk zombies in the comments below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put those in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post spoiler warning. We try to be polite here on my channel. Please like, share, and subscribe, all the usual YouTube stuff. If you'd care to follow me on other social media, I'll have links for my Instagram and Bluesky in the description below. And that's all I've got for this week. So until next week, read more books.